Take your Bibles and go to Luke chapter number 2. Luke chapter number 2. And that's not a mistake. I know that I preached there last night. We're going back there again tonight. Luke chapter number 2. Let me just take the opportunity while the good people of Berean Baptist Church are here and tell you that this has been a fantastic conference. And thank you for your investment in the lives of teenagers and the lives of young people. And I know a little bit about that. Our church puts on a little conference every summer, and you send your teenagers over there to it. And I know the expense and the exhaustion and the time and the resources and everything that can come in an event like this. But let me tell you, it's worth it. I just wish you could see each and every service, the heart of these young people as they respond to the preaching of the Word of God, as they sing out, as they listen. So thank you so very much, dear church, for taking and making that investment. Also, Pastor Rabin and Brother Phil and Brother Tim and so many others behind the scenes who put so much time and effort into this. Thank you so much. It is not without notice. It's not without notice. The only complaint that I have is that Phil, every service, gets to wear a flannel shirt and jeans, and I have to wear this monkey suit. I'm trying to figure out how I got duped into that. He's in jeans and a flannel shirt, and I'm wearing this. But none, we'll be all right. I got some hip socks on, so we'll be okay. Luke chapter number 2. Let's stand together out of respect for the reading of the Word of God. Luke chapter number 2. And we're going to start reading in verse number 39. Luke chapter 2 and verse number 39. And last night, teenagers, we talked about the early part of this passage about Simeon and how that Jesus left Simeon, he left us through the example of Simeon in a place where we could not stay neutral, where we had to choose a side. He drew a line in the sand, if you will, and he said, choose you this day whom you will serve. Does something very similar again. Only this time he's not quite as correct with us. He's not quite as soft in presenting us with a choice. He just demands that this is the way that it is. That there is an absolute authority in this life that you and I must reckon with. This is kind of the title tonight. An absolute authority. An absolute authority. Look at verse number 39. And when they had performed all the things according to the law of the Lord, they returned into Galilee, into their own city, Nazareth. And the child grew and waxed strong in spirit, filled with wisdom, and the grace of God was upon him. Now his parents went to Jerusalem every year at the feast of the Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went up to Jerusalem after the custom of the feast. And when they had fulfilled the days, as they returned, the child Jesus tarried behind in Jerusalem. And Joseph and his mother knew not of it. But they, supposing him to have been in the company, went a day's journey, and they sought him among their kinsfolks and acquaintance. And when they had found him not, they turned back again to Jerusalem, seeking him. And you can imagine the panic, the horror, the fear that came over Joseph and Mary at this point. There's 100,000 plus people probably in Jerusalem at that time. They're from a town of about 100. And they've lost Jesus. They don't know where they put him. He's only 12 years old. He's in this big city. They've been gone at least a day. It's going to take them another day to get back. And you can imagine kind of this sense of fear that overcomes them because they realize Jesus isn't there. Verse number 46. And it came to pass that after 3 days that they found him in the temple. Okay, so they look everywhere. They look as many places as they possibly can in 3 days. And the last place they look is the temple. And it looks everywhere else. Let's go check the temple. And they walk up to the temple steps, and there they find Jesus. 12 years old. It came to pass, this is verse 46, we already read that part. They found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of the doctors, both hearing them and asking them questions. And all that heard him were astonished at his understanding and answers. And when they saw him, they were amazed. Everybody's amazed. Everybody's astonished. Everybody's marveling at how much this 12-year-old boy knows about the law, about the prophets, about the temple, about all these things. They're amazed. Everybody's amazed. Mary goes a step farther. And his mother said unto him, Son, why hast thou dealt with us? Behold thy father, and I have sought for thee sorrowing. And he said unto them, How is it that ye sought me? Wished ye not that I must be about my father's business? And they understood not the saying that he spake unto them. And he went down with them and came to Nazareth and was subject unto them. But his mother kept all these sayings in her heart. And Jesus increased in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. Our Heavenly Father, we ask you today, this night, to speak to our hearts. Father, more than likely, no place else in this city is a group of people assembled like this. There's many teenagers willingly giving up holiday time. Moms and dads and grandparents and church members surrendering an evening to be together to hear your word. We ask you to speak to us. We want to hear from you. God, please fulfill your word where you promised where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, that I would be there in the midst of them. Truly, all is in vain unless you show up tonight. Hide me behind your word and write your word on the table of our hearts. Shape us, mold us, fashion us by it. And in your son's name we pray. Amen. Thank you for standing. You may be seated. Rebellion equals freedom. Rebellion equals freedom. At least that's what we think. And we won't say it that way necessarily. We don't really think of it in those kind of margins, but deep down inside, this is really what we believe. This is the way that we've operated. This is the way that we've lived ever since we were kids. That rebellion equals freedom. That if somebody is telling us to do something, then the best way to be free from having to do what you're told or made to do is to rebel against it. It's to spurn it. It's to reject that thing that you're being told to do. This happens when you're a little baby. Your mom puts you in a nice comfy diaper. She wraps you up in like a little onesie. How many of you love a onesie every now and then? Those things are little footy things. They're so comfortable. She wraps you up in that thing. She takes you to your crib. You probably don't even remember this, but she took you to your crib. She laid you down inside of a crib. It was very similar to a prison. Think of the similarities. Very similar to a prison. She laid you down in it. She turned on Winnie the Pooh. Well, I'm going to get it out in a minute. Winnie the Pooh music. She walked out of the room, and there you were left. Like, all you're supposed to do is stare at this thing that goes around in a circle, and that's going to make you happy? Yeah, right. We know better than that. So what'd we do? We used all of our little baby strength. We crawled ourselves over to the bars. We yanked. We kicked. We stuck our feet out of them. We stuck our hands out of them. If we could, we stuck our head through them. If we got big enough, we could stand up. We could yell, scream. Like if you could hear that baby, he's saying, I'm innocent. I didn't do it. That's what he's saying. Then you got really big. You could stick your leg over it and flip yourself out onto the ground. After you woke up from your state of unconsciousness, you were free. Free to roam the room. free to play with the electrical outlet, free to do all kinds of things, all kinds of fun things, things that you couldn't do when mom and dad were there. This is what we did when we were little babies. We do this when we were kids, we were toddlers. Like, you can play anywhere in the playground, just not in the street. Now, how fun does the street look? With its painted line, its nice blacktop. Everything in the street looks fun. This playground is boring. I want to play in the street. The street is freedom. Man, if you can get to the street, you can be free from swings and monkey bars. You can be free from little things that just go in a circle. You can be free. What is that called? You can be free from a seesaw. I know it's not a seesaw, it's a merry-go-round. You can be free from a seesaw. What fun is this? And then the fat kid sits on the end and you just went. Or maybe you were the fat kid and nobody played with you. I don't get it, guys. What's so fun about this toy? Man, the street was where real freedom was, right? And then we got a little bit older, and then it was going to the store, the mall, by ourselves. Whew. That's where real life is. And mom just dropped me off like a block away from the mall so nobody sees you. Freedom. This is what we're taught. It doesn't change when you get older. It's the same principle. The speed limit says 45. Psh, 45. Who drives 45? Not me. 55. If it's 55, no, 55. Who actually drives 55? It should be 70. 70. Psh, it should be like Germany. We should be able to drive as fast as we want. It doesn't change. Do not touch this wet paint. Touched it. This is what we do. Rebellion equals freedom. We know this is what we believe. You may not be willing to say that inside of a church, but this is the way that we live. This is the reality about our lives. We don't like being told what to do. We just don't. We want to do our own thing. We want to have our own life. We want to make our own rules. We want life like we want Burger King, our way. Which Miss Rabin promises you can't actually have Burger King your own way. Not for sure if that's true or not. I've never tried to order anything other than a Whopper. Why would you get anything other than a Whopper at Burger King? It doesn't make any sense. This is what we want, though. We're going to grow past this idea of being fully rebellious. And we kind of grow past the idea of just not wanting any authority. We recognize that authority probably at some point or another in our life is a good thing. We just want to be the authority. That's really more where it's at. As long as we are the ones in charge, we love authority. As long as we are the ones telling people what to do, well, then we absolutely love authority. You remember the first time you were allowed to be the classroom monitor? That was an evil laugh, by the way. The first time you were like given the piece of paper or the piece of chalk, and the teacher left the room and she said, "Johnny, if anybody talks, write their name on the board." Immediately you see red, just walking up and down the row. You ever notice a teacher when she gets authority, like she's right out of college? What does she walk around the classroom with? A yardstick? Just waiting for you to talk? Man, she's got authority all of a sudden. She's got a yardstick. You can't beat a teacher with a yardstick. There's no way I can conquer this. There's no way I can overcome her mighty powers. She is a yardstick. It's unfair. She has authority. You ever met a cop who loves his authority? Everybody moans in the room on that one. Oh, yeah. Every cop loves his authority. I mean, I was only going 25 miles an hour, the speed limit. Come on. Authority monger, right? He's full of authority. Everybody loves authority when they are the ones in authority. And this is the point of Luke chapter number 2, this back half of Luke chapter number 2. Here's the point. This is the main point we're going to make tonight. I'm not even going to delve into it. I'm going to make this simple point. I'm going to show you kind of 4 ideas that kind of show this point in the passage, and then I'm going to sit down. This is the main point of the text. Who is the authority in your life? Who is the authority in your life? Now let me break that down for you. Let me help you understand this. By authority, I mean who gets the say in your life? Who's the one who has the right to decide what direction you go? Who's the one that gets to say that's good and that's bad in your life? Who's the one that gets to say turn that off or turn that on in your life? Who's the one that gets to say you can do this but you can't do that in your life? Who is the authority in your life? And now this meets Joseph and Mary like front on, okay? I mean, this hits Joseph and Mary right across the face. And it should hit us across the face the same way. Because depending on how we answer this question really determines, really sets some pretty big standards in our life. Because if I'm the one that gets to say, if I'm the one that gets to decide, if I'm the one that gets to guide my decisions, if I am my own authority, well then, what am I doing here? And why do I need you? And who's to say that I actually came from a creator? I think I'm morphed. I'm morphed from 2 little love atoms billions of years ago, way out in space, floating there by themselves. They drifted toward each other because they were in love with each other, and they blew up all of a sudden, Big Bang style. And then that kind of formed this thing we call a universe. Go figure. And then inside this thing called a universe, then there was these little molecular structures. And they just kind of moving around. These little amoebas were just moving around. And then kind of water showed up. And then they kind of formed into like a little tadpole. And then this little tadpole grew legs. And then it grew a tail. And then it stepped out one day from being a tadpole. And then it stepped on the land. It became a monkey. And then from one day it went from a monkey and turned into a human being. And eventually all human beings die and turn into Lion King. That's the circle of life. Everyone knows this. And really what this is who's to say anything different? If I'm the authority in my life, who gets to question that? And let's come up with something better. Let's come up with Stephen Hawking's grand design. And let's say that we're really not even responsible to the Big Bang or anyone at all. Let's just say that there obviously has to be something else out there. And so we're all just brains all hooked up to a supernova computer. And all of our brains just create this reality. And in fact, there is no reality at all. All of this is kind of make-believe in my head. It's all here just because all these brains attached to this supernova computer kind of made it to be here. And who's to say any different? I want to be my authority in my life, and so I say this is the way it is, and who are you to question me? Well, I am no one to question you. But God, who is the authority, He is. So if you get to call the shots, well, then we can make up whatever we want, can't we? Life is basically a matrix. That's basically what life is. We're all from amoebas. There's no moral right, wrong. You just do what you want. Every man does right in his own eyes. And who are you to judge me? Or is God the authority? There's 2 ways to look at this. First of all, God is the authority. Period. Whether you want to acknowledge it or not, whether you want to admit that or not, that's beside the point. God is the authority, and he doesn't need you to give him any credentials or credence in order to gain any more authority. This is what Paul says: one day every knee will bow, and every tongue will confess that he is the Lord of Lords. It's going to happen, okay? Whether you want to right now admit that or not, it will eventually happen. God is the ultimate authority, whether you are acknowledging it or not. Okay, so God doesn't need you to give him authority. He already has the authority. But in another sense, who are you giving authority to? All of us are serving somebody. All of us are giving authority to somebody in our life. Can I tell you where most of you young people are? Where most young adults are? Here's who they give the authority to. You ready? The person sitting next to you. You give them the authority over your life. Now, the person sitting next to you is like, boom, dude, didn't know it was so powerful. And we wouldn't say it that way. We wouldn't look at our friend or our group of friends, and we wouldn't look at them and say, you have authority in my life. Tell me what to do. I am your humble servant. I am your minion. We wouldn't say that to someone, but we just by nature make these kind of decisions. Instead of doing what we know is right, we yield to whatever they think. Whatever pressure they put on us, we do. And so in that sense, we are not giving God the rightful authority, but we are giving them authority over our lives. Someone has authority over your life. It's not a matter of, I'm not going to give anyone authority. No. You are giving someone the authority. It's either your group of friends, or it's culture, or it's media, or it's Hollywood, or it's Lady Gaga, or it's Justin Bieber, or it's Oprah, or it's yourself. You are giving someone, or it's a supercomputer someplace out there with billions of brains attached to it. That's got to be the most far out thing I could ever think of in my life. And you are giving authority to someone. You are giving authority to something in your life, whether you want to admit that or not. Okay, so who has that authority in your life? Okay, now let's look at Luke chapter 2, and let's see how this meets Joseph and Mary in kind of a real world way. It's an interesting passage because the Bible is very particular. Luke is very particular that Jesus is 12 years of age. See this in verse number 42? When he was 12 years old, they went up to Jerusalem after the custom of the feast. Now, you need to take note of that, because when a Jewish boy became 13, he became his own man. How many 13-year-olds in the room? Stand up, because I don't want you to raise your hand because you probably didn't put deodorant on. Stand up if you're 13 years old. Come on, stand up. Come on. Be proud and be loud. You're 13. Yes. Look at this. Look at this group of 13-year-olds. You rock. I love 13-year-olds. No, stand up. Stand up. 13-year-olds do anything. 13-year-olds will really, stand back up, 13-year-olds. You will literally do anything. You guys are awesome. But don't stay standing. Don't sit down. This is it. This is it. If you lived in Jesus' day, check this out. If you lived in Jesus' day, when you got to be 13, you were an adult. How many of you vote for that again? Throw me the keys to the chariot, baby. I'm out of here. Boom, I'm 13. 13 equals stand up 13-year-olds. Where are you at? Man, why do you keep sitting down? 13-year-olds. Man, this is it. This is Jesus. He is going from 12 to 13. Not 13 yet. He's 12. But this is that last year. And this is why this is important. Stay up. This is why this is important. Because between the ages of 12 and 13 is the last chance that their dads or their moms would have had a chance to really influence them, to really prepare them for life. Okay? All the 13-year-olds cool? You can sit down. This is it. This is the chance for Joseph and Mary to really invest in Jesus' life. This is when he would understand what his dad does. This is when he would study what his dad does. This is when he would apprentice under his dad, who Joseph is a carpenter. And so Jesus is going to come and he's going to be a carpenter. He's going to take over the family business. That's what this is happening. That's this moment in Jesus' life. And so Joseph would have been spending huge amounts of time with Jesus during this last year. He'd have been spending huge amounts of time kind of investing in Joseph to get Joseph ready for life. Can I go pull a car over and can I just put it in park for a second? Moms and dads in the room, spend time investing in your children, preparing them for life. Get back on the road. Okay. Now this is it. And so Joseph has got Jesus. This is the last chance before Jesus is an adult in Jewish culture's eyes. This is the last chance. And so Joseph is walking Jesus around. And he's saying, now, when you come here, these are the people you want to buy wood from. And these are the kind of tools you want to get. And these are the kind of people we do business with. And you can kind of see this plan, right? I mean, Joseph had got these huge ideas of what Jesus is going to do for this carpentry business. I mean, Jesus is going to take the carpentry level, or the carpentry work, to another level in Joseph's mind. But it's not just work. It's not just apprenticeship. It's also life. It's faith. It's religion. Okay, so this is the kind of girl you're going to marry, and this is the kind of place you're going to live, and this is the way that we worship God. And so Joseph would have taken Jesus with him. Jesus is old enough now. He would have walked Jesus up the steps. He would have walked him into the temple. He would have showed him the lambs being slaughtered. He would have showed him the streams of blood running out the back gate of the temple. He would have showed him all these signs. And Jesus is looking at this, and he's understanding that I am the Son of God, and I am the end of all this. You see that lamb being slain? I'm that lamb. So when that blood gets spattered all over the wall, when that lamb bleeds out on that tabernacle, Jesus sees that. And there's this very vivid, real understanding in Jesus' heart and Jesus' mind of who he is. He didn't grow into deity. He was already deity. He was already God. Don't let anybody tell you any different than that. He was God. Okay, so he's walking into this. He goes, yep, I see that. I'm going to be the end of that. Yep, I see that. I'm going to be the end of that. The temple itself, Jesus is going to be the end of the temple. The temple was the meeting place where the Jews would come and they would gather there to meet God. No longer would it be. Now, after Jesus' death, burial, and resurrection, that temple would be your heart. That temple would be your life. That's where God would meet you. This building, it's nothing but sticks. And well, it's not sticks. It's brick and drywall and mortar and carpet. And it's nice and we should take care of it. But it's a building made with man's hands. That's all it is. Because there's nothing special, there's nothing miraculous about this. Jesus recognizes this. Jesus sees the temple and Jesus says, I'm going to be the end of this temple. Because so Jesus is fully aware of all of this. And Joseph is walking Jesus around like a proud dad moment. He's walking Jesus around. He's showing him all these things. And it's time for them to leave. It's time for them to go. Joseph and Mary get their other children. They get back with the band of people that traveled up with them from Nazareth, and they head out. And Jesus doesn't. Jesus stays. Notice what happened. And he's 12 years old. And when they had fulfilled the days as they returned, the child Jesus tarried. He wasn't left behind. He stayed behind. Purposefully. You ever hid from your parents in the grocery store or like in the, Kohl's? I mean, not probably recently. If you're like 16, you got issues if you're still hiding from your parents in the clothes rack, okay? But like when you were little, okay, when you were a little kid. I take my son Jesse to the store, and I really hate going to the clothes store, but my wife will go and she'll get, how many of you men can relate with me on this? She'll get like this many clothes, and she'll try all of these clothes on. And then she'll buy none of them. It doesn't make any sense to me. I walk in, I see a pair of jeans, I say 34, 30, 34, 32, sometimes 36, I'm a little expanding a little bit. And so 34, 32, I go, oh, these jeans look great. I walk to the counter, I put them on, I pay the lady, I walk out. Done deal. What's anything else need? Why do you need anything else? You like the dress? Is it your size? Then buy it and let's go. All the members of Brigham Baptist Church who are male are like, hey, did you hear that? It's the preacher talking, okay? Write that down. This is my wife. She gets me closer. She disappears into a dressing room for like an hour. And now it's me and a 5-year-old. What I'm going to do with him in the women's department of Kohl's. Don't look at that over there. It's just naughty. Go that way, you know? And so he's like, he's walking around the store. Now it's just me and Jay. It's me and Jay, man. Jesse, it's me and Jay, man. And I'm walking around, hey, Jay, come on, let's go over here. We start looking at these clothes over here. And like any good man, I kind of forget that I have a 5-year-old with me. And I'm kind of like looking at these clothes. It's a sweet shirt. I don't have a shirt like that. Turn around. Dude, where's Jay, man? Dude, where's Jay? Jay! Jesse! Jesse, where are you at? You see my son, Jesse? No, you lost your kid? What a terrible parent. No, he was with me. I didn't lose him. He's temporarily misplaced, okay? Just don't know his exact whereabouts. I'm getting my kid chipped. You know they chip a dog? I'm getting my kid chipped. So I just, oh, okay, he's right behind me in the clothes rack. I'm not even worried about it right now. Moving on. Jesse! Where? And I'm freaking out. And here's Jesse in the clothes rack. Like watching me. Finally, I find him. It's like, Jay, man, you can't do that. I'm telling Mom, you lost me. Little brat. You know what? Go in the changing room with your mom. I'm out of here. This isn't they lost him. It's he chose to stay behind. He wanted to make a point. That's how you need to read this. He wants to make a point. Here it is. This is point number 1. He has a responsibility that he assumes. Can you write that down? He has a responsibility that he assumes. He takes this responsibility on himself. You say, Dave, what is the responsibility? The responsibility is he is about to teach Joseph and Mary who the real authority in their life is. This is the responsibility he's about to teach them. He's assuming this responsibility on himself, and he's about to teach this responsibility to Joseph and Mary. And they don't even know that they're about to get hit with this truth, but this is the truth he is about to show them. And so on purpose, he stays behind. And now we can kind of speculate, like, what did he do while he was left behind? What did he do for the 3 days that they were gone? Where did he sleep? What did he eat? We have no idea what he did. I can only imagine what my 11-year-old will do if he were left behind for 3 days. It would be disastrous. Like there'd be no more Pop-Tarts left in my house. All the candy would be eaten. All the Mountain Dew would be gone. All the fruit and the apples and the vegetables, they would be untouched. But everything else would be gone. What am I talking about? That's what I would do if I were in the house alone for 3 days. This is Jesus. He's not in his house. He's someplace else. He's someplace foreign. And he is assuming this responsibility on himself. And he's going to teach this authority lesson to his parents. Now, all the kids in the room were like, oh, yeah, boom. Okay, he's Jesus, you're not, so sit down and shut up. Okay, like when you are 11, you have not committed one evil deed or wrongdoing in your whole life. Then you get to teach your mom and dad something. But until that moment, sit there and be quiet, okay? Don't for a second think this is you. Okay, anyway, the lesson that he teaches them is he goes and he talks to all the professors of law and he astounds them. What would you talk about? SpongeBob SquarePants? Okay, so no, 13-year-old, you don't get to have that privilege, okay? There you go, parents. I put him straight for you. He assumes this responsibility on himself. Joseph thinks, follow me. Joseph thinks, I've got Jesus here and I'm teaching Jesus some stuff about life. I got Jesus here. I'm going to teach Jesus some stuff. It's the other way around. This is Jesus going, well, I got Joe and Mary here. I'm going to teach them something. Peace out, y'all. Come find me in 3 days. He doesn't say peace out, but just maybe read into the text there. Okay, so watch what happens. He tarries behind in Jerusalem. And Joseph and his mother knew not of it. They thought he was up in the front picking on the little kids. Verse number 44. But they, supposing him to have been in the company, I don't have time for this, but I wish I had time to develop that statement. They, supposing him to have been in the company. You thought Jesus was there. You thought Jesus lived with you. You thought you followed Jesus. You thought you loved him. You thought he was king in your house. You supposed him to be there, but you didn't actually prove it nonetheless. Went a day's journey, and they sought him among their kinsfolk. Now they're looking around. Where is Jesus? Where's he at? Verse number 45. And when they found him not, they turned back again to Jerusalem. They went, where was the last place we found him? Where was the last place anybody saw him? And Joseph goes, man, the last place I saw him was in the temple. And I was showing him about the temple. I was teaching him about our faith. I was teaching him about the lamb. I was teaching him about the blood sacrifice. I was teaching him some stuff. That's the last place he was. Let's get back there. And they hightail it back. Verse number 45, and when they found him not, or rather verse number 46, and it came to pass after 3 days, they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of the doctors, both hearing them and asking them questions. And all that heard him were astonished at his understanding and answers. And when they saw him, they were amazed. Okay, so Jesus has this responsibility that he assumes. Here's number 2 about Jesus' authority. Number 2, there is this realized authority in the life of Mary and Joseph. Everybody else is listening to Jesus and they're like, wow, this kid knows his stuff. You got to remember, nobody else knows he's the Son of God. Because Joseph and Mary, they know whose son he is. But everybody else doesn't. And so this is them. Everybody's standing there going, wow, this kid really knows his stuff. He's a sharp kid. He's smart. Like if he were in Awanas, he had every badge in Awanas. He was that kid. Were you that kid? I hated that kid. That kid, he like helped every old lady across the street, and he had like badges all the way down his vest, right? He knew every line to the Patch the Pirate songs. That kid. This is Jesus. He is that kid. He knows everything. And he's asking these people questions. And they're like, wow, I never really thought about that. And Mary and Joseph come busting in the temple. Jesus! And he's sitting over in the corner. He's like sipping a cup of tea, having this big, deep theological conversation. And they're all amazed. Whoa. Wow. Then notice Mary. And his mother said unto him, Son, why hast thou thus dealt with us? She said, why did you do this? You can kind of sense the break in Mary's heart, can't you? Man, there's nothing I hate more than breaking my mom's heart. Like there's something about that just, it ain't right, you know? Like my dad, I can take him or leave him, but my mom, like, ooh, man, no. Like mom growing up, she'd just go, David? Like she could just say it in a way that you know she's disappointed. Like, did you clean your room? Yeah, I cleaned my room. She goes up and looks at my room. David? I don't clean the whole house, man. I'm sorry. I didn't put a sock away, okay? He says, why'd you do this? And notice this. She says, behold thy father. Ooh. Don't you hate that? Like you wait till your dad gets home. No, let's just deal with it now. Like what? Don't wait till dad gets home. Let's just deal with it. Dad's not even a part of this, Mom. It's me and you, Mom. It's a son and mom thing. It's a daughter. No, Dad doesn't need to know. It's our secret. And you know I love you, Mom. I never liked Dad. And I know deep down inside you don't even like him. So just me and you. You wait till your dad finds out. Okay, so that packs some wallop, right? That's like, oh, dude, now that's real trouble. Dad hits harder than mom. Dad yells louder than mom. Dad's face gets more red than mom. Dad's this close to having a heart attack, closer than mom. She says, why have you dealt with us? Why have you thus dealt with us? Behold thy father. Then notice, thy father and I have sought for thee sorrow. Okay, so you know what she goes to? She pulls this, you're supposed to be with your dad. That's the point. You're supposed to be learning how to be a carpenter like your dad. You are supposed to be under the authority of your dad. That's what she's saying. You're supposed to be walking around with him, and he's supposed to be teaching you some things about life. You're supposed to be with him, and he's supposed to be instructing you in the way in which you should live. You're supposed to be with him, and he is the one who is supposed to be guiding you, telling you what's good and evil, telling you what's right and wrong, telling you which way to turn, right or left. You're supposed to be with him. That's the point. That's the reason for the statement the way that it is. Notice his answer. And he said, how is it that you sought me? Wished ye not that I must be about my Father's business? That is the contrast. This is the realized authority. Here's what Mary assumes. Mary assumes that Jesus is supposed to be getting his instruction from his father, Joseph. And what Jesus helps Mary and Joseph understand is his father is not Joseph. His father is God. If you circle words in your Bible, you should circle the word thy right before father. And you should draw a line right down to the word my father. Because they're looking at this thing from two very different paradigms. Here's Mary. Mary says, you're supposed to be honoring your dad. He's supposed to have authority in your life. You're supposed to be learning from him. You're supposed to be listening to him, pointing at Joseph. And here's Jesus. Jesus says, I am, and my Father is God. And you know that, don't you? It's a realized authority. Jesus says, Mom, I am learning from my Father. Wished you not? Didn't you know? Did you forget already? Did you think you were the authority in my life? I'm not, and you're not, but God is. In other words, you should have come here first. Because I'm about to be a man, I'm about to be 13, I'm about to assume that responsibility on myself. You should have known that this is where my true Father is. You should have known that my house is this house. My house is not in Nazareth with you. You should have known I am with my Father, and he's right here in the temple. And he has a work that he wants me to do, and I should be getting about doing his work. This is God to Joseph, through Joseph, to us rather, saying, I know you understand this, Joseph. I know you know that I've been sent here from God, not to fit into your plan, but for you to fit into his. Not for me to come and do your bidding, but for you to do his. Not for me to be the God that fits in your perfect little box. So I can be that genie. I can be that genie in the Bible that you rub when everything's go bad, and then poof, I show up and I'm supposed to grant you 3 magical spiritual wishes. No. I don't fit into your plan. You fit into God's plan. You didn't invite me here, right? He commissioned me to come here. I'm here according to his plan. I'm the Son of the highest. I'm the Son of God. I'm here to do his work. This is Jesus teaching them that Jesus is not this tame lion that comes into your life. No. He is the living Lion of Judah. That's who he is. And when he comes into your life, he shakes everything else up. He is the authority now. His word has the final say. It's his plan. He gets to set the parameter for what's right and what's wrong. He gets to say where you get to get off at and where you don't. He gets to say what you get to watch and what you don't. He gets to say what you get to wear and what you don't. He gets to say what's right and what's wrong. He gets to say what your future has in store. He is the one that holds all that now, not you. Not you. He is the authority. Yeah, well, science tells us that we evolved from, I don't care. I have an authority, and I don't have to fit science. I don't have to fit him into my theory of science. I have to take science and fit it into him. I start with him. He is the ultimate authority. He is the authority. Did you know that I was going to be about my Father's business? That's what I can guarantee you. I can guarantee you this wasn't part of the plan that Joseph had envisioned for his life. This wasn't the way that it was supposed to go. But Joseph had to accept it. I think that's the hard thing about authority. Because we have a way that we have scripted our lives, haven't we? And then when it doesn't go according to script, who does he think he is? God? Why would God do this? I hate God. That's not even fair. No. God doesn't fit into your life. You fit your life into his. This is the difference. This is the difference. And this is what Joseph and Mary realized. This is what Joseph and Mary have to accept. Can I tell you this? Joseph and Mary aren't wrong. She gets rebuked strongly here, I think, for our sake. But Joseph and Mary aren't wrong. They're just looking at the wrong authority. Here's what they think. They think we are the authority in this life. And Jesus says, yeah, you need to change who you think the authority is. Can I tell you? You need to change who you think the authority is. The authority is not you. Can I be real honest with you? The authority is not me. The authority is not the most spiritual person you know. The authority is God. This is what I want you to get, teenagers. Because I think if you can get this point, then I think for the rest of the conference, God can really do something in your heart and life. If you can realize this one truth, God is the authority. And if you will accept that, if you will accept that truth, God has the say. Not a say, God has the say in my life. He is the authority. Well, then whatever comes next is okay. Whatever diagnosis you get from the doctor, it's okay. Why? Because God's the authority. Whatever place he tells you to go serve, Africa, Uganda, Korea, China, Afghanistan, Kentucky, it's okay. Why? Because God's the authority. Want to know what to get you to the hardest point in your life? An understanding of who the real authority is. See, we don't have the final say. But we think we do. We think we have a plan. We think we have a script. We think we have a way that we want our life to work. But what happens when it doesn't? It's then you'll find out who you think the real authority in your life is. It's at that moment that you will come to the realization that you've been your authority all along. I mean, yeah, you dolled it up on the outside by going to church and looking sharp, but really? Really, Joseph and Mary? All along, you thought Jesus came into your life to fit into your plan. But that's not why he came. He came to fit you into his plan. It's a realization of authority. The only rule in life is who's going to determine for you what's right, what's wrong, what's truth, what's error. who's going to determine in your life who gets the final say in your life. That's what I love about Luke. Luke tells us that Jesus, right after this, we'll get to this in a minute, but Luke tells us Jesus goes back, he submits himself to Joseph and Mary. He obeys them. He obeys them for the rest till he turns 30 years old. He lives under her authority. He lives in their house. He does what they say. We're going to get to that in a second, but this is the point. The recognition that God is the authority in my life changes everything else. If somebody busts into your house, kicks down your front door, and walks in front of you and says, I am your king, bow to me. Hey, you have a choice to make. Is he your king? Then you must bow. Is he the authority? Then you must do what he says. I love how the old timers used to say it. They say it this way. They say there's two kinds of beings in the world. There's two kinds of beings in the world. There are the gods and then the not gods. Guess what? We're all on the not God team. So guess what we have to do? What God says. It's really that simple. We're not God, and he is. And so we have to do what he says. This is the realized authority for Joseph and for Mary. Isn't this really at the heart of it? Isn't this really what Adam and Eve wrestled with? You remember the garden? There's one tree in the whole garden they can't touch. Think about that. There's only one thing they can't touch. They can eat anything else they want. And the serpent comes to Eve, and the serpent says, really? Yea, hath God said? Eve, is God the authority? Really? Hey, Eve, wouldn't you like to be the authority? Wouldn't you like to be like God? Wouldn't you like to switch teams and be on the God team? Wouldn't you like to determine what's right and wrong? Wouldn't you like to determine what's truth and error? Wouldn't you like to determine your plan, your purpose? Wouldn't you want to live for yourself? Wouldn't you want to switch teams, Eve? Eve, can't you be an authority? Can't you have the final say? It really hasn't changed at all, has it? It's the essence of sin. The essence of sin is assuming an authority that God took upon himself. The essence of sin is saying, I know better than God when it comes to this, so I'm going to do what I want. Yeah, I get you, God. I know I'm supposed to do that whole 10 Commandment thing. I know I'm supposed to be pure. I know I'm supposed to be right. I know I'm supposed to love my parents. I know I'm supposed to obey. I know I'm supposed to pray. I know I'm supposed to go to church. I know I'm supposed to tithe. I know I'm supposed to do all that. But God, really, I think when it comes to this, okay, you don't live in 2013, almost 2014. You don't live here. And so, really, I think I know better than you right now. Yea, hath God said? It's really the same argument, isn't it? It's what it's always been. It's never been any different than that. And we could try to doll it up, and we can try to say it's about music, or it's about purity, or it's about relationships, or it's about money, or it's about family, or it's about, no, really at the heart. You can pull all that away. You can strip all that back. And at the heart of it, here's what it is. You want to be your own God. You want to decide for yourself what's right and what's wrong. And God says, nope. I am the authority. I get the say. Yeah. I am the authority, and I get the say. Notice this. Verse 51, there is this relinquished attitude. I'll move quick. Verse 51. So, verse 49, I must be about my Father's business. They understood not the saying which he spake unto them. Verse 51, and he went down with them and came to Nazareth and was subject unto them. Wow. Don't tell me how you're going to change the world, how you're going to do ministry, how you're going to live for God, how you're going to go to Africa as a missionary, and you're not willing to obey your mom and dad in the most basic ways. Man, you're kidding yourself. Man, ain't nobody got time for that. And you're kidding yourself. I'm going to obey God one day. I'm going to do great things. I'm going to be a hero. I mean, not now, Mom and Dad. Get out of here. Come on, if you can't do something this simple, if you can't obey the fifth commandment, then you're not going to do anything else. Come on. Well, who are they? Why do I have to obey them? Look, if Jesus obeyed his parents, you should obey yours. Because you're not better than him. That's fair. That's fair. This is what it says. And he went down with them and came to Nazareth and was subject unto them. So like when they said, turn the Xbox off, it went off. And when they said, don't hang out with those friends, he didn't hang out with them. And when they said, don't drive the chariot that fast, he didn't drive the chariot that fast. Like he did what they said. It's kind of an authority thing, isn't it? Right back to it. It's a relinquished attitude. This is the point with Jesus, though. Jesus says, I'm voluntarily doing these things. I'm voluntarily doing these things. Let me go a step further and say, if God is the ultimate authority in your life, then you will respect all the other authorities that he has placed in your life. Can I go that far? Am I okay there? If God is the ultimate authority, God, you're the ultimate authority. God, you set up who you want to set up. God, you do what you want. God, you are in charge. You are in control of my life. You are the authority of my life. If God is the ultimate authority, then it has to be that all the other authorities are there because he lets them be there. Isn't the heart of the king in the hand of the Lord and he turns it wherever he wants? Then he teaches disciples, render unto Caesar's that which is Caesar's. Doesn't Romans 13 teach us something about yielding to the powers that be? You say, yeah, well, Peter and John, they didn't yield to their authorities. But their authorities were telling them to disobey God. Okay, so when authorities tell you to disobey God, you don't have to yield to them. But anything other than disobey God, you have to yield to them. Ouch. Ouch. Jesus is submitting to the authority in his life. Do you remember Pilate and Jesus at the crucifixion? And Pilate looks at Jesus and says, why don't you beg me for mercy? Don't you know I have the power to take your life? I wonder how many thousands of Jewish men must have stood in front of Pilate and begged Pilate to show them mercy. Begged Pilate in his authority, with his power, to show them kindness and to let them off the hook. And here's Jesus standing in front of Pilate, and Pilate says, aren't you going to beg me? Aren't you going to ask me to let you off the hook? Don't you know, Jesus, the kind of authority that I have? And you remember Jesus' words back to Pilate? You have no authority except it was given to you by God. Boom! That's a truth bomb going off right in front of Pilate right there. Yeah, Pilate, you couldn't do anything if God didn't let you do it. You say, well, what authority was over Jesus? Death was authoritative over Jesus. Death took Jesus' life. No. See, Jesus laid his life down willingly. He gave his life over to death. And if he laid it down willingly, he could pick it back up anytime he wants. You see, Jesus beat death, hell, and the grave and every earthly power that's in its place. And he did all of it to prove this to you, to prove that he is the ultimate authority on life and you can trust him. And you can follow him, and you can believe in him, and you can trust and entrust your life to him, and he will not lead you astray. No, it may not be according to your plan. No, it may not fit into your script. No, it may not be the way you thought it was, Joseph. But I can tell you, I can vouch, you can follow the Lord Jesus Christ. He is the greatest authority that you could ever have on any issue that you will ever face. That's the point. Last one. There is this response in amazement. He went down to Nazareth, He went down with them, came to Nazareth, and was subject unto them. But his mother kept all these sayings in her heart. This is like she let it sink in. This is what some of you are struggling with. You're not letting it sink in. Like you're wanting anything and everything else to be the authority except God. And God is right up in your face and he's saying this, I am the authority. I tell the wind and waves where to go. I am the authority. I created it all, and it all consists by me. Like if I let it go, it would all go spinning out of control. I am the authority. Believe me. Yeah. Trust me. Follow me. Obey me. Do what I ask you to do. And you're struggling with like, you won't let that sink in. You won't let it go any deeper than that. And this is Mary. Mary goes, wow. I thought all along this was about what I could do for God. And really, this is about what God is doing for me. You can't hide from me. Ask Adam. You can't outrun me. Ask Jonah. You can't ignore me. Ask Samuel. You can't fool me. Ask Judas. I am the authority over all the earth. This is what he's telling us. I am Creator God, and I'm here. I am at work, and I want to work in your life. But you have to recognize that, and you have to give him the significance. You have to give him the say. You have to give him the weight. You have to give him the glory. In a very practical, like real world sense, God is the ultimate authority and everybody will see that and bow to that one day. But you right now have the chance before that day comes to yield your life to it. You have the chance to say, okay, God, I see you as the authority and I yield my life to you. Everything I do is for you. Everything I give is for you. All that I do, everywhere I go, everything I say, everything I partake in, the way I work, the way I live, who I marry, the things I do or don't do, the entertainments I enjoy, the affections that I have, they are yours, God. They are yours. I give them to you. And in doing so, do you know what you do? You glorify your Father, which is in heaven. This is glory. This is the essence of glorifying God. It's feeling the significance of God and the tininess that is you. I've never seen that on a bumper sticker. God is the ultimate authority. I am nothing. But he wants to work in me. And Mary pondered these things in her heart. She just got overwhelmed by the fact that God, the ultimate authority in life, would do this in her. It's called glory. It's called worship. And when you tell somebody else about it, it's called praise. Someone said praise is what you tell others about God. And worship is what you tell God about God. This is Mary. She does all three. She glorifies God, she worships God, and she praises God. Do you know what God wants from your life? Glory, worship, praise. You know how you'll do that? You recognize you are tiny, He is all authority. He is the ultimate authority. Yield your life to it. It's a simple commitment. It in essence is to say this: God, you count more than me. God, you are more important than me. Your goals are better than mine, even though I don't understand them. God, your desires are more pure than mine. God, your business, your honor, your name, it counts more than mine. And in case you're left wondering, well, what about my rights? You don't have any. You're tiny. And he's big. So will you accept that? Will you accept that? In Numbers 15, God tells us a story about a guy who's picking up sticks on the Sabbath day. And he gets busted. And the elders of Israel go to God and they say, what do we do with this guy? And God says, kill him. He knows the law. Stone him. What? For picking up sticks? That's not fair. That's not right. I'm sorry. Are you questioning his authority? There's a story about a guy who tries to catch the Ark of the Covenant from falling off the wagon. God says, don't let the ark touch the ground. So the ark falls off the covenant. It wasn't even supposed to be on the wagon, but it falls off the wagon. The guy goes to catch it, and he touches the ark. And as soon as he touches it, God kills him. And we hear that story, and we're like, what? This guy was trying to keep it from falling to the dirt. This guy was trying to keep it from getting like in some E. coli, bacteria-infested dirt. Yeah, but this is the point. This is what I don't think we can understand, is that your hand is far dirtier than that dirt could ever be. That dirt never rebelled against God, but we in our sin did. And so God said, don't touch it. And he goes to touch it, boom, he's struck dead. And we hear that story and we go, wow, that doesn't make sense. What authority do you have? Who are you to question him? There's a guy in the Bible named Job. And all this bad stuff happens to Job, and Job endures it really good. He takes it on the chin at first, but man, he just can't take it anymore. And finally, he goes to God, and he goes, God, what's up? Why are you doing this to me, God? And God says, stand up, get dressed like a man. It's reckoning day. Job 36, 37, 38, 39. God calls Job under the carpet, and God says, Job, where were you when I formed a mountain? Job, where were you when I made it rain? Hey, Job, does the snow obey you? Hey, Job, does the lightning report at your feet every morning and ask where it should strike? Hey, Job, does the wind and the waves, they do what you say? Do they go as far as you let them go and then back as far as you want them? Hey, Job, does the sun come up because you told it to get up? Hey, Job, who are you? 3 chapters long, God just bust Job right in the face. Who are you, Job? And Job gets really tiny. And Job says, which is, I should have never opened my mouth. He literally says, I put my hand on my mouth. I'm sorry for questioning your authority. Can I help you, church? Because I know you've been through some stuff that these kids, you're not kids, you're young adults. But just for their sake, we're going to call you kids, okay? Like at that really bad moment in life. Like when you're standing at a casket that's only this big. You know? And you want to go, how's this fair? Who are you? Where were you at for me? Just be reminded. He is the ultimate authority. And we are tiny. It doesn't fit my plan. I was supposed to get sick. I was supposed to die. The business wasn't supposed to be a flop. Car wasn't supposed to break down. I was supposed to lose my job. She wasn't supposed to walk out on me. They were supposed to leave me. Hey, God, what's going on? Who's the authority? That's what he asks you. Who's in charge of your life anyway? Where were you? Where were you when I flung stars out into space like diamonds? Where were you when I spun the earth on its axis? Where were you when I laid out a universe fit exactly the way I wanted it? Where were you when I got up and I held it together by my hand? Where were you? I'm sorry, you're right. You're God. And I'm not. Can I just give you glory now? Can I just worship your name now? Can I just praise you to others now? Can we end where we started? Who's the authority in your life? Who's the authority in your life? Let's stand for prayer. I don't know if we can do this, but can we have that song, How Great Thou Art, Son? That duet, sing that song for us. As soon as you get there, just start singing, sister. Heads bowed and eyes closed. God spoke to your heart. That's all I'm asking you to do. Sit. Church isn't just for them. It's for you. It's all I'm asking you to do. Would you just respond? Would you just obey God? Would you see him as the authority in and over your life? Would you see yourself as tiny, and would you just, for a little while tonight, let that sink in? I mean, let it hit home. Would you let it hit your heart, let it hit your soul? And just yield yourself to that. Would you come? God, you're big, I'm not.
The worlds thy hands have made.
God, you're in control, I'm not.
I see the stars.
God, you get to say, I don't.
I hear the
God, you're pure,
rolling
and you're good, and you're merciful.